For those of you just joining us now, we're talking about carpal tunnel and basically, arthritis and all the problems of joints and connective tissues. And we're just talking about the weight of my coffee mug.
Weight of your coffee mug. Are those magnetic or copper
They are the
things?
copper, the name of the company, I forget, but the copper people. Yeah.
Cool.
I have this is going to complete the set. I've got hands, I have elbows, and I have knees. I'm not wearing them all today, but
Do you happen
maybe I
to,
should.
does the Crystal Fox carry those?
No, we don't, at least not yet. So if I find ones that I like, I don't actually think there's enough copper in these copper gloves. And I know some people are like, copper doesn't help, which is fine because I was like, copper doesn't help, even though I sold the copper bracelets that are magnetic.
Yeah.
But there was a point where I was out camping at Free Spirit Festival, and it was camping in a cloud. The temperature was like in June in Maryland, the temperatures were in the upper 60s for all of the week,
Yikes.
barely cresting above 70 degrees. And at the end of it, my hands hurt and I couldn't hold anything in my hands. Like things were like slipping out of my hand.
Yeah.
Um, and then I was like, well, it'll go away. And so June, July, August, September, October, I was like, okay, how's it going away? And I was like, I sell these copper bracelets. I should just try it. And so I put on a copper bracelet and I instantly felt better. Now, I did need one on each wrist at the time. So
Hmm.
right now, I'm only what I'm experiencing is in these fingers up here. So yeah, on this go around, I could not find my old copper bracelets. They're in storage somewhere. I think underneath. Anyway, but so I don't know that this copper bracelet is going to help all the way over here, but I
Hmm.
do feel like um if I had now I'm thinking about like copper rings or something. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. We've been thinking about that in this house too.
Yeah, and I'm not like a devotee of, magnetism or copper, although I put them on and I instantly felt better. I thought there was something to it when an older woman came to buy the copper bracelets because she had arthritis, and she put them on, and she didn't even get into her car, and she came back. She wanted to return them because her whole arm was numb. And I was like, okay, we'll return your money. It's okay. And then I thought, there's something going on
Interesting.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that if you are going to benefit from a copper um bracelet or anything copper, um, you should probably feel something right away. And if you don't, it's not the right thing. And you can probably just try it on, and and if you feel something, if it feels better, then go with it. We don't need to sit there and explain it because it might sound ridiculous, but if I had to, if I was pressed, I would have to say that it has to do with the electromagnetic field of the body, and you can put a pin electrode into somebody and like stick it into a cancer tumor, and when you flip the switch, uh, creating a charge, um, the body thinks it's injured, so it races all of its immune system defense cells to the area. Um, don't know that they're still doing it today, but they were trying it out in Germany like 20 years ago. But you know, if you can't make money on a cure, it's not going to be sold at hospitals.
Truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So we were gonna talk today about beliefs of Wiccans, which may
indeed.
be a little bit rudimentary, but we are like in the beginning section, the beginning chapter, if you will. first chapter. Although I think technically we might have moved on to the second.
So, for those of you following along at home or have just joined us, we're actually going through our old teaching manual for
Yes.
doing the Wicca 101 that
Yeah.
sort of
And
the roots of it date back to the beginning of the Foxmoore Coven back in 1977. And
yeah,
I think you got there in 1987 and I got there in
80. Oh,
88.
I 80. Oh yeah, we always I think that Foxmoore thought that got there in 87, but I'm pretty sure I got there in 88. And I want to say that you also came in 88. I think
I
I
did.
came
Yeah.
in spring. Beltane was the
Mhm.
first event, and then I think you came in the fall.
Rites of yeah, yeah. I got
And
there
then
in
the
the fall.
following year, it was rites of spring.
And then we
Uh,
opened the store. We opened Foxcraft in August of 89.
correct, correct.
So
August 4th.
yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, so TLDR, this
Yep.
is the book that we were taught out of. This is
Sure.
the lessons that we were taught. We're going over kind of in that order. So
Yeah. Yeah. And also know that once we get all the way through from beginning to the end, we're going to do it all over again. So don't worry about if you've missed anything. I mean, you can always go back and look. Um, but I think as we go forward, they'll get better. If we have a week where we didn't get a chance to record, we will probably post something that's older. Um, and as we move along, I think we are getting a little bit better, at least better in the sense that, I took notes. So on the very last one, I wasn't looking at the camera a lot. And then I realized it was older. And, with my notes, I was like, you need to make sure you look up more. I was looking down a lot, but and and so the very earliest ones, I didn't have great eye contact, but it's better now. But I will do some reading, so I will be looking away. Um,
okay. Beliefs of Wiccans.
all righty. Tell you what I will do is I will read probably about half of it, and I'll let you do the other half.
That sounds great.
Yep. And we will probably interject a little commentary on our own. Um, and I did some research on the word Wicca. We will cover at some point what is Wicca, what is witchcraft, those sorts of things. We're gonna touch back on. Um, Wicca is an old word, though. It is not invented in the 70s. Um, so I thought that was interesting because, I had a lot of people telling me like, not from my tradition. I had people from outside my tradition going, "Oh, Wicca was an invention, in the 70s or the 80s. And Cunningham invented the word Wicca."
No,
And
yeah.
I did some research and that was not true. Um, so the earliest records, and we can go back to those earliest records, but as in the 700 or 800s, um, and they were talking about uh, Wicca as a menace, and they used the word to really kind of talk about witchcraft. It was just an uh, old English word. So anyway, the religion of Wicca has at its major deity a goddess with many facets: the maiden, the mother, and the crone. This alone may have been the basis of the persecution by Christianity and its threefold God, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. It is almost as if it was a battle of the sexes. The goddess has thousands of names, which range throughout all ancient mythologies. Her companion or counterbalance is the sabbatical goat or the goat of Mendes. Most of the time, we talk about Hern or Kerninos, which can also be pronounced Cernunnos. Um, um, the goat-foot god, the horned god, and he has the kind of antlers which are depicted. Since Wiccans believe in the that the balance is so necessary that they have the basic total balance of the sexes, which is to say they have a god, they have God, we're both represented. Um, the Wiccan goddess has so many facets of her personality that she is called upon by these thousands of names, so that that particular part of her personality will answer the invocation. Her goatman companion is almost totally a mass of the symbology of man within his limitations, or a man with a connection to the physical world. Um, Wiccans believe in an active, ever-present law of karma. Um, the threefold law is generally uh, how we would refer to it. The law being that any and all things that extend from you will compact you threefold, good and bad. That is the reason that there's absolutely no room for evil in this faith. And then she says, perhaps Wicca, meaning wise ones, could be commonly called Lovecraft. So we'll talk about the word Wicca in the future and what it meant at the time and what it means today. Um, I'll let you take them.
Okay. It is also the Wiccan belief in reincarnation that goes hand in hand with the threefold law of karma. The belief in reincarnation is always progressive, although not always in human form, each life better in some way than the last. At death, the spirit goes to the Summerland, also known as Droin. In the Summerland, you rest, relax, have reunions with family and friends, and meet with the god and goddess representative to plan your future lives or life. Usually, there are 7 to 12 lives, more or less. Most Wiccans prefer cremation or burial without embalming, or some way that bodies can decompose quickly, returning itself to the elements. The soul or spirit is the important thing. Crossing the bridge, or death, is a joy. Joy in knowing that your spirit eternally survives, eventually to find final rest and peace. And knowing that the karma and purpose for the present lifetime is fulfilled and the soul can progress.
Now you've got extra words.
I do have extra words, I guess. Interesting.
So
Interesting.
I was reading the first part and I was like, oh, this is interesting. This is taken literally um dictation. This wasn't written, this is dictation because you see two words together, that which you would never write. You would but you would say. So I was like, oh, okay, this was yeah. And
So this is Lady Alexandria's Hand of Right. So
yes,
I
yeah.
don't know if we can see
She
that,
added it on. Yeah.
but she added it on, and it's her notes that
Yeah.
sort of
That's great. I think it's a good addition or a good draft in that sense. Um,
great.
I just as a side note, whenever I see Summerland, because we use Summerland a lot, other tradition, Happy Hunting Ground,
Yeah.
Elysium, but we have Summerland a lot. And then there's a place in England, Somerset, and so there's also some stories that the Celts came from Sumer.
Hmm.
They're the where the Celts came from is very like a long history, but it's basically, we came from perhaps the land of Sumer, came all the way up. Famine and war. They retreat. They move back to Greece. They lived there for a while. Maybe picked up the name Keltoi from the Greeks. Perhaps they moved back. They migrated back. So there's several migrations where they move in and they move out, and then they move in and they move out. So um, uh, I think it's very interesting. But I think that this land of Sumer, the Summerland, and is related to this place and Sumeria. But Sumeria will come back to us because we mentioned it later in our teachings, and Babylon. So Sumeria and Babylon, they definitely return. And if you read you read a lot of history, if you read a lot of books, that's there's a lot of magic that comes out of there. So certainly influences our tradition. And yeah,
So reincarnation is such a basic part of what we know as Wicca,
yes.
separating it out from witchcraft, which is sometimes interpreted as just like the magic part, that part plucked out of the Wiccan
Yeah, part of the
religion,
pie.
if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of religions which believe in reincarnation.
Mhm.
Um, Hindu, also other Hindu traditions, Sikh. Um, some people will say that early Christianity believed in reincarnation and then they took it out. Um, I'm not sure if reincarnation was taught, although that is some people's theory. But they definitely took a stance on it at some point. They were like, this, no, you know. And that changes, I think, around 300. Um, but the Council of the Essenes, I think, we're trying to get everyone on board with the same plan. So, um, so I know also like 7 and 12, you hear these interesting numbers. And my own personal thought is, maybe eternal reincarnation.
Mhm.
Um, um, but there probably is a point where you're going to, if it's progressive reincarnation, if it's tied to a forward moving time, um, eventually we're going to evolve into something that won't be able to have kids with where we're at now. So there's that evolution um, as well. So, uh, but I mean, I think thousands of lives, easy. But I think it depends. And there's always people that you run into and they will say themselves, they're like, this is my first life. And you'd be like, yeah, yeah, this
Yeah.
is first life. I agree. And it's not a diss at all. It's just I think it's just a perspective, perhaps, an energy, a vibe. Um, you also hear the word old soul a lot. And for us that have been around for a minute, I'd also say if you hear the word old soul, it can be a little bit of a red flag. Um, because people will kind of use that to leverage people sometimes, manipulate people. So I think sometimes, things move away from the original meaning. But old soul can also mean remedial. Like you made a lot of mistakes and you have to reincarnate many times to uh get your karma straight, if you will. Karma often, maybe not what you think it is sometimes, but I think as you live with it more, then you have a realization. It does come back to harmony and um moving yourself forward.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't want to digress too much, but we'll certainly talk about karma more in the future.
And I'm going to throw in a couple of things here with the god and goddess.
Yeah.
And I, I find it easier to think about them as facets, like the words say in this text, not like a literal, actual being or person.
Hmm.
Um, like the Greeks had it down with the different goddesses were for different functions
Hmm.
or different elements of the personality.
Yeah.
Um, and when Sterling and I came up, everybody was talking about Jungian psychology. So
Yeah.
there's a big blend of that brought in.
Yeah. There's a
Um,
lot of Jungian thoughts and philosophy theory.
Um, so yeah, you call on an element of the goddess to help you with a certain task or need or
Right,
area for growth, not
right.
like just the goddess. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
yes, you
you
could,
could, but
yes. And for a lot of times we would say, keep it simple, which is to say, just call on the God and call on the
yeah,
goddess. I
yeah.
think as you grow as a student, then you begin to study aspects,
Hmm.
and how those aspects fit together. I think that I am dualistic, which will come up a few times, which was sometimes in conflict with what our teacher may have believed, but I
Hmm.
do believe in a real God and a real goddess. Also a single emanating force, so
Hmm.
that Sybil Leek says that we're polytheistic for the tourists, which is to say we're perhaps at a root monotheistic. We do see that same divine force as having different aspects. The Great Mother and that which you can call God or Yahweh. And we'll talk about those also down the line, those aspects. Um, but the way I think that might be useful to think about the aspects of the god and the goddess is to think about them as pieces of the pie. And so when you learn a piece, you learn part of the whole. And the more pieces of the pie you learn, like signs of the zodiac, then you have a whole picture, um, a more complete picture. Uh, yeah. There's some unpopular Celtic thoughts. Um, with karma and reincarnation.
Hmm.
But I think they're good to think about. And at first, they may be like, I don't like that. I don't agree. And I think that's fine. Um, we pick our bodies, we pick our parents, we pick the lessons in our life. And sometimes it is our job to figure out why.
Even if we're annoyed,
Yes,
maybe
yes.
especially if we're annoyed.
Yeah, yes. I think that and friends, I would say with most people in the craft, friends maybe have a greater sort of karmic value.
Mhm.
Those that chosen family. And some groups will put that, the coven above that biological family. And I would say no, no,
Mhm.
no. I would say your biological family may take precedent, but it depends on the relationship that you have. Certainly, my wife and my son are, paramount. Um, um, but my uh, close friends, my coven mate, Blythe, also, very important. And I wouldn't say that one is more important than the other, and that we have to sort of choose between or anything like that. We all have different family dynamics. My relationship to my parents was very different than a lot of people, perhaps. They're very philosophical though, and they like to talk about the Celts, and so we had that common ground. But I don't think that my parents trusted, uh, the witchcraft so much. I think my mom did at some point. She bought like I think it was Silver Ravenwolf's book. So she did buy a few things and read some things. I think she really appreciated the connection to the earth that our religion has. And my father related just straight to history, like where the Celts were, who they were, what they did. He had been to Hadrian's Wall, so he told me about that. And I don't think I quite knew that before, or it didn't sink in that he had walked the Hadrian's Wall. Um, so I thought that was, some interesting things, for certain. And as a culture, we learn more all the time. So what we know about Stonehenge now, I would say, is a lot more than what we knew 30, 40 years ago. But it's always little tiny increments that
Mhm.
we make. So
And one of the things that I was taught was also that we sometimes we tend to reincarnate in groups.
Yes.
if you're
Yeah.
on similar paths or that.
Soul groups or
Mhm,
soulmate, some people will
mhm.
say. Some people say that, soulmates don't exist and that twin flame and twin flames are, aren't real or they could be hazardous. I mean, certainly, absolutely. Um, but those lessons are important. And it's some really interesting stories where people are like, they have a close relationship in this lifetime, but they might have a memory where they were enemies, where one killed the other. And I think that it's true, if it's not true, it's compelling, and there's a lesson, there's a story. So we are experiencing these lessons together. We might be very close for a time. We might spend time apart, but then we might come back together. So yeah, have a good week, and we'll post something new soon. Thanks.
Thanks for watching.